Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today we are playing Lash Gordon, which is a mono-blue combo deck that aims to win the game with Thassa's Oracle. In order to get our library empty for the trigger to win us the game, we are using Thought Lash and Paradigm Shift. Both of these cards enable us to make a Thassa's Oracle win the game with its trigger. We also have one copy of Jace, Wielder of Mysteries, which can hopefully do a similar thing to Thassa's Oracle, especially useful if our Thassa's Oracles are getting surgically extracted or something in post-board games. Now we have a little bit of interaction with our opponent here in the form of Force of Will, Force of Negation, and Chalice of the Void. These things are hopefully going to do enough to get us across the line. We also have 3 copies of Malevolent Hermit, which can interfere with our opponent's counterspells and give us uncounterable spells once we play the flip side. In order to find our combo, we have 3 copies of Step Through, which can tutor for a wizard. Usually that's going to be Thassa's Oracle, sometimes it will be the Malevolent Hermit, and sometimes it will be a Teferi because we might need to beat down, but more likely we're just going to want to be able to say no to any spells, and this means that our opponent can't play spells in our turn, so we can combo in safety. We've got some Lotus Petals and Ancient Tombs to help power this one out, Cavern to make it uncounterable, Shelldock Isle is sort of a cheeky way of getting some extra cards that we can cast so we can have a land that turns into a spell once we do our combo. And then we've got 2 Impulses and 3 Narsets to find the card. So Narset's also good as a distraction, and it shuts down some of the things that other opponents might be doing. So I quite like the idea of Narset here. Quite how good it's going to be in practice, I don't know. But that's more or less it for the main deck. We're just trying to turbo our combo out with a little bit of protection, really. So, what about our sideboard? We've got a bunch of Null Rods here for matchups like 8 Cast and Painter. We have 3 defense grids. If our opponent is trying to interact with our combo using counterspells, defense grid should hopefully shut that down. We've got 4 Leylines because we want to say no to graveyard decks, and we can play this and protect it, and that's probably going to be good enough a lot of the time. We've got 2 more counterspells and Force of Negation for people that are trying to go underneath us. Another Brazen Borrower for problem permanence. We have 2 Ashiok Dream Render. This is going to stop our opponent from searching out little bits and pieces. Going to be good against some of the like Urza Saga Loam strategies because they won't be able to search for their Urza Saga, and they also won't be able to use Loam effectively because they're going to keep exiling their graveyard, that sort of thing. Then we have a Singleton Magus of the Moon because this is a wizard. Now we have 4 Caverns and 4 Lotus Petals to cast this off of, which isn't a lot of sources, but we only are going to go and grab this with Step Through when it's relevant. So if we can cast it, we'll step through for it and grab it. Otherwise, we can ignore it. And that's about it. So this is an interesting one I want to try out and see if we can manage it with these sources. As a singleton, I think it's fine in the sideboard. All right, that's pretty much it. So just before we jump into League, like, comment, subscribe. These are things you can do to help my channel out. You can also become a member of the channel and get sweet perks like being able to decide what I play on my channel and even donation decks. So why not do that? Alright, with that all done, let's play a Legacy League with Lash Gordon. We are on the play for round 1. We have the Thought Lash. We don't have much else other than this Force of Will. I'm not really sure this hand is going to get us there. I think we can mulligan and get a faster hand here that does more. Okay, this hand has all our requisite pieces in. I think we're going to bottom the Shelldock Isle because it's vulnerable to wastelands and things. We don't have the interaction that much here. We've just got the Malevolent Hermit. But we can use the Hermit, hopefully, to force through a Thought Lash and then win the game that way. A basic island and pass. Our opponent's turn, Underground Sea. Probably an unfair deck. That tends to be how these things go. I imagine once we play the Malevolent Hermit, our opponent will know what we're playing. It's a little bit of a giveaway. We don't really have any other plays right now anyway. I'm certainly not playing this. That's okay. Okay, this Lotus Petal is a pretty good draw. It means that we can crack the Hermit if we need to. We could have played the Thought Lash this turn and tried to win next turn, but I think having a bit of protection for our opponent's turn is going to be worthwhile. We're in with the Hermit. Interesting. Not sure what that means for our opponent there. A Tundra. So this feels like Cephalid Breakfast to me. We're going to get Thought Seized here. A Baleful Strix. We don't care about Baleful Strix. Chalice of the Void. So we can either try and stick a Chalice here, or we can play this Thought Lash and try and win the game next turn with our Malevolent Hermit backup. That seems good to me. Now the opponent could daze this and force us... Okay, I was thinking our opponent could daze this and force us out of mana for our Malevolent Hermit. Feels like our opponent's playing the... Oh no, a 4th colour. This could be more control list than I was expecting, rather than a combo deck. So we'll see. So we've got white mana here, Swords to Plowshares. This will exile our creature. They want us to try and counter this. I think we do counter this spell. Because this puts our Malevolent Hermit in the graveyard instead of in exile, which is better for us because it means we can cast the Disturb half, and if we draw another blue source, we can cast and count with Chalice or something if we need to. I'm not sure if we just go for it with the Thassa's Oracle just yet. Might be able to force some action when we cast our Malevolent Hermit as well. So it's got a cumulative upkeep cost, so we have to exile top cards of our library. An island that I quite fancied as a card there. Let's play the Shelldock Isle. I guess we'll put this Thassa's Oracle underneath it. This gives us 2 bites of the cherry next turn. Do we want to just try and slam this Chalice? I think so. I think this is better than playing the Geist here. This shuts down Thoughtseize from our opponent. It shuts down a whole bunch of stuff. If we can draw a blue source, then we can do double Oracle next turn. So we're not getting wastelanded this turn either. Scrubland. Our opponent's got a lot of colours over there. This feels like we want the Magus of the Moon in the post-board games. We just have to be careful how we use our Lotus Petal, because we want to be able to get it to go off. Our opponent's conceding, because they know we have the Shelldock Isle stuff going on. Interesting. So I don't really know much about our opponent's deck. I do know that this Magus of the Moon looks pretty hot. And I think the Chalice is going to be useful here. I have to imagine Narset is also going to be nice here. Uncertain about Brazen Borrower, but it's kind of a free one to have. Malevolent Hermit versus Swords to Plowshares is a little bit awkward. I don't think we actually need this Force of Negation. I think the Magus of the Moon is probably better than that. Do we want defense grids? Our opponent didn't really show us counter spells. They had a lot of colours. Maybe we're just supposed to roll it like this and see how we go. Maybe it's greedy, not bringing in these defense grids. But if they're black, I'd rather have things like Impulse just so we can find cards through Thoughtseize. And obviously the commitments to run Thoughtseize are a lot less than the commitments to run Force because you need a critical mass of blue stuff. I think we're just going to try and get them with the Magus of the Moon. Let's see if my singleton sideboard tech works. Well, we have a hand that can very much do that, so I guess we'll keep these cards. Now what we don't want to do is play our Shelldock Isle and put the Magus of the Moon underneath it. I guess we can put a different card under it, so that's good. So we could step through into Blood Moon. I don't hate that as a play. It means we do have to play our Cavern of Souls out, but our opponent can't be playing Wasteland. Surely not. Right, so we'll do this play. I guess we could have played the Ancient Tomb, actually. What am I doing? Yeah, I could have just played the Ancient Tomb to step through instead. That was a sloppy play. What am I doing? Yeah, we should have just Ancient Tombed. Got to step through that way. I guess we'll see what our opponent does this turn. We want our opponent to have 2 non-basics in play at the end of this turn. We're getting Prismatic Ending here. We are. Okay, we'll float a blue. Let's Wizard Cycle. See, if we'd have played the Ancient Tomb, they wouldn't have been able to do this. I think we're still getting the Magus here. I have to assume they have a blue source they can find off of their Scalding Tarn. Let's just do the thing, I guess. Like, our opponent showed us many colours. This can't be countered, opponent. You don't want to try and force a will this. Alright, so our opponent's fetching now. I don't think they're going to get... They could have a Hydroblast here to blow it up. But I doubt they bring in Hydroblast against the mono blue deck. So this should buy us the ability to slowly beat our opponent down and win the game eventually. Now they did show us reds. They probably have red cards of some description. But quite what those cards are, I don't know. I think we are supposed to just play the guy here. Right, we've just got the concession there. We've got 2 guys. Once we untap with this, we can counter the one spell that gets them out of Magus of the Moon, and then they kind of can't really go anywhere. So, alright, 1-0, makes the Moon tech look pretty good. Let's go to round 2. So this opening hand, we've got 3 mana, which is enough to cast Narset. We have a Force of Will backup. We do have our combo in hand. We have the more expensive one of Jace, Thought Lash, but that seems good enough for me. Our opponent is on the play, so it's going to all go horribly wrong for us. A little bit of discard or anything. An Ancient Tomb, but no play. Interesting. Interesting. I think I'll play the Shelldock Isle. Yikes. Do I want any of these? Exact text on this. You may play the exile card without paying its mana cost. So we can play it if it's a land. Am I thinking about getting the land here? Or do you want the paradigm shift? Maybe it's... None of these are very good. I think I'm going to put the land underneath it. In case we get wastelanded off of our cavern, at least we can get another cavern to cast our guy. Pretty much a bit of a nothing there, though. Alright, so we're on some sort of initiative deck by the looks of things. An Elite Spellbinder. Do I want this Elite Spellbinder to resolve? Like, we're going to lose the Force of Will regardless, right? So I think we're supposed to counter this, pitching. I guess it should be our Narset. That does leave us not doing anything for a couple of turns, though. That does not seem great. I think I'm going to get rid of the Jace just so we can use the Narset to draw some stuff. Maybe that's ridiculous, but the Thought Lash can keep the... okay, look at that, instantly rewarded. The Thought Lash can certainly keep their deck at bay for a while, and they're not going to have many ways of interacting with our hand, other than Elite Spellbinder, possibly Anointed Peacekeeper. So by getting rid of that, it means that we can carry on playing here. So this is probably going to be like the big 4-mana guys, so either Seasoned Dungeoneer or the Caves of Chaos Adventurer. Okay, could be looking at 5-drop. Not really sure what 5-drop that would be. Maybe Hardcast Fury, if that's what they've got going on. But again, we have Thought Lash, so if we can get that into play, we'll be fine. Archon of Emeria. Right, that's fine. We're not really looking at playing many spells in one turn. We've got basics. Let's get our Narset into play. This isn't going to do much, but it might distract our opponent and make them attack the Narset, which would be good for our life total. Minus this. What have we got? Lotus Petal isn't very useful underneath the Archon of Emeria. Step Through, on the other hand, probably has some reasonable text. I think I'll take the Step Through. We can at least cycle that if something goes wrong and get whatever we need, whether it's a Brazen Borrower or something. Like they could play, I guess Chalice on 2 doesn't really matter either because you have the Cavern. We do have a delay because our Cavern comes in tapped, but our opponent's probably not going to be removing our Thassa's Oracle. Alternatively, we can use the Cavern of Souls underneath our Shelldock Isle, and that'll actually come in quite handy. Let's see if they attack the Narset. I imagine they do here. Like, our life total is pretty healthy. Yeah, so there's the Narset getting attacked. That's fine. They get to cast 1 spell here. Caves of Chaos Adventurer. Sure. So we don't take any damage from this because of Thought Lash. And then we can just win with the Thassa's Oracle on the following turn. We can do it uncounterably, but I don't think we're going to have to. But just in case they play a Chalice on 2, we can make that play. So I think we're in good shape. Force of Will, that's a nice one. That's another reason we got the blue card off of the Narset. Alright, 1, 2, 3, 4. Thought Lash. We might have to worry about Pyroblast in the sideboard games. So we take no damage from our opponent's attacks this turn. We have a Force of Will backup, which we're going to use on their turn because of the Archon of Emeria. But we can play, exile a bunch of cards from our library, get the Shelldock Isle off with the Cavern to give us an uncounterable Thassa if that's something we're worried about. I don't think we are worried about our Thassa's Oracle being uncounterable though. It might get killed, but we can just exile our library in response. Alright. Thought Lash is in. What has our opponent got here? Touch of the Spirit Realm on their Caves of Chaos Adventurer. Be my guest. So this prevents damage, but doesn't prevent life loss. They'd have to run through the Undercity 4 times to kill us with Trap, which isn't going to happen in 1 turn. Well, at least I hope not. That'd be ridiculous. Where are they putting? Are they putting counters or are they scrying? I think this has got to be a scry. Yeah, okay. We have a Force of Will for our opponent's turn if they have something good at sorcery speed we have to worry about. Feels difficult for us to lose this one, but not impossible. Touch of the Spirit Realm, in case you're wondering, is artifact or creature, which is why they didn't save it just as an Oblivion Ring on our Thought Lash. That's not a thing you can do. But even if they did do that, we could just exile a bunch of cards from our deck so that we can just play the Thassa's Oracle and win next turn anyway. Oh wait, if we put this Cavern in, it'll come in tapped when this is... Yeah, non-basic lands enter the battlefield tapped. It's not. So we can get around, actually. But we don't have to make our guy uncounterable. Okay, they want to trade... Well, they don't necessarily want a treasure. It's just better than the arena for them. So... Let's see. I imagine they might send 1 at Narset because I can't prevent damage at Narset. The Exiling of Caves of Chaos Adventurer. An Anointed Peacekeeper. That's a pretty good one. We have a Force of Will for that though. We're just gonna do 3 of these and 4, 5, 6, 7. Right, and that's enough. So we take no damage from their attacks. Pretty good against the aggro deck. Elite Spellbinder. So they can make our Thassa's Oracle cost 2 more. That still doesn't stop us. But we can't use Force of Will anyway. So we may as well stop them here. This is the only spell they get cast this turn anyway. Alright, so we'll play this one out on Wizard. And we'll hold priority. Cast this guy. So as soon as this comes into play and puts a trigger on the stack, then we activate our Thought Lash and exile our whole library. Because now we know the ability is going to be on the stack, we can just keep doing this. There's a little bit of clicking involved with this deck, but it's not too bad. So we've got 3 cards in our library now, which is enough with all the blue pips in play, and we win the game. Sure. Post board, what do we want here? Interesting. We're not big on removing our opponent's stuff here. That's not quite what our deck does. Do we even want any sideboarding here? So Force of Negation is kind of helpful if they've got... I'm just trying to think what is... I guess they can have some sort of Pithing Needle effect that we might want to Force of Negation, or we can hit their mana early on if that's something. Maybe we want Force of Negation. Maybe I think we just want another Brazen Borrower though. That's much more what I'm looking at here. Like if we put a Thought Lash into play, it's very hard for our opponent to win. I think that's probably going to be better than Malevolent Hermit for the most part. Although Malevolent Hermit can take the initiative back. Teferi's kind of a slow, dirtly guy, so I think I'd rather have the Borrower. These Chalice can just go on 0 if I'm on the play. But we can put them on 1 for Pyroblast. That doesn't feel amazing to me. What would I rather have? We could Null Rod, that shuts down our Lotus Petal potentially, but can shut down a bunch of their mana. We have a couple of Force of Negations just to stop our opponent having bits and pieces. Mages of the Moon isn't the worst, but not great. I'd rather have a couple of Null Rods here. Am I just playing stuff for the sake of playing stuff? Maybe. I just don't think these Chalices are going to get much done. Maybe we'll keep a couple of Chalice in. There's definitely situations where Mages of the Moon is okay, but as soon as they cast 1 initiative guy, it's kind of bad. I guess stopping our opponent from searching their library might be better than Chalice here. And might also provide our opponent a distraction. But no, I think we just want Chalice in case they have a couple of Pyroblasts or something. That probably makes sense. We can beat Pyroblasts, but if they're Pyroblasts on our Thought Lash at an inopportune time, that's pretty bad for us. Alright, this hand kills on turn 4. That's not too bad. We can also play out a Thassa's Oracle just to get in the way if we need to. This one seems fine. Chromox, sure. Go ahead, opponent. How bad is it going to be for me? I imagine we're going to see an Ancient Tomb. Nope, Cavern. Okay, this could be a Thalia, which we can ignore a little bit. It means our Thought Lash is going to be a bit slower. Alright, no play. Excellent. We will begin the game with our Ancient Tomb in play. Is it the Ancient Tomb one in play, or is it the Cavern? So the reason I'm wanting to play these things is because if our opponent plays Archon of Emira, we want to be able to play our things. So I think we'll play the Cavern because we might have to use the first Thassa's Oracle to find a blue source to cast the Thought Lash. That's why I'm considering, that's why I thought I'd play the Cavern of Souls there. Chalice of 0 would have been pretty good this match, but opponent's got 3 cards in hand, so I have to assume they've got a 4-drop creature right now. So they're making an uncounterable Anointed Peacekeeper. Sure. What are you going to take here? Probably the Thought Lash. That's the more difficult one for us to cast if they make it more expensive. We can step through Brazen Borrower if we need to. I think the correct play here is definitely naming the Thought Lash though. I guess it could be Narset, because if Narset costs 5 and then also costs us 2 to activate, it's basically gone. But Thought Lash is the thing that's going to stop them from killing us and win us the game. And it means the activated ability on it. Yeah, so they named Thought Lash. Sure. So we could do with a paradigm shift here. Alright, so let's go blue and blue for a Thassa's Oracle.
What have we got? I would like this island. So we can use a step through to mess with our opponent's stuff, but I think just making sure I can hit my land drops, I think is sensible here. Maybe we didn't need the second island, the third island. Sure. So this is a pretty reasonable clock they've assembled now. So this turn we play the Narset, and if we find a paradigm shift, we can win next turn. If not, we might have to bounce both of their guys to buy us a turn of combat. This is going to be unblockable because of the Seasoned Engineer. Let's see how bad it is for us. Elite Spellbinder on top of their library. That's pretty annoying. We might find... I guess we can't find a Force because we've got this on human. Alright. Come on, Narset. Show us what you got. There is the Paradigm Shift. I will take a Paradigm Shift. So we have the win next turn, but they've got a... Anointed Peacekeeper coming in. Not Anointed Peacekeeper. A Elite Spellbinder, sorry. Coming in. So we have to worry about that one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 mana, which is not enough to cast Paradigm Shift if it gets hit by Elite Spellbinder. This just makes things cost 2 more, right? Yeah. So we can Paradigm Shift this turn. Chump block with a Thassa's Oracle on a Seasoned Engineer, but then we take lethal next turn. So that's not going to work for us. So we might be casting Step Through next turn on the 2 big guys, an Archon of Emeria. Okay. So attack with 2 guys here. Seasoned Engineer has to be coming in as well, surely. Lotus Petal would not be a good draw because of the Archon of Emeria. Targeting their Seasoned Engineer, that's a mistake, right? You want to put on the big guy. This lets us prevent some damage with this guy. This means we only take 4 this turn. Our Narset dies, but it's not the end of the world. Does mean our Paradigm Shift turns are a bit worse. So if we cast Paradigm Shift's up here, isn't it? That's where it is. Sure. So if we cast Paradigm Shift this turn, we take 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 5 from traps. So that's very, very lethal. Understood. If we bounce these 2, we take 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then 5 from this. But we take 2 from our Ancient Tomb. So that doesn't work either. If we cycle Step Through, bounce their guy, then what happens? We can't cast this because of Anointed Peacekeeper, right? This makes it cost 2 more, and the activate abilities of it cost a bunch more. So that's not going to help us out. Tricky, I would describe this as. We step through, bounce this and this. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we're not dead if we do that. Oh, this comes in tap, doesn't it? Oh, yeah. Of course. Yeah, we're just dead here. Oh, a bit awkward. All right. So they've just got guys that I don't really want to see in play. I think on the play, though, having these chalices to slow down their guys is going to be better than the Force of Negations. So I'm going to go for it like this. And submit. Sure, this is alright. We've got some stuff. We can play our Lotus Petal out before the Chalice. If we can find an Ancient Tomb, we can play a turn 2 Thought Lash. But we get to stop our opponent's, well, some of our opponent's fast mana anyway. So they probably won't be able to deploy a threat until turn 3 if we do this. Play this, play this, play this, and pass. We can Force of Negation, but I don't really want to. If it's something that will stop us being able to Thought Lash, maybe, then sure. Ancient Tomb would be a really good draw about now. Lotus Petal. Hoisted by my own petard there. Sure. So we have hardcast Force of Negation if we really need it, or we can Wizard Cycle for something useful. We're looking at opponent. How many cards did I blank with my Chalice? Some. That's Wizard Cycle. An Aven Mind Sensor. I guess. Pretty annoying. And we swing and a miss. That is pretty annoying. Malevolent Hermit. Sure. Let's play this guy out. Not too bothered by a 2-1. It's when they start getting other creatures to stack up around it that is a problem. Why do we have to draw this second Lotus Petal? That's the question. Anointed Peacekeeper. Sure. So they're going to name Thought Lash, and then we're going to be in trouble here. Yeah. If we'd have drawn a basic land instead of this Lotus Petal, we would have been alright. Sure. They've named Thought Lash. We can't block that. Unbelievable, isn't it? Absolutely staggering. This is supposed to hurt them a lot more than it's supposed to hurt us, but we've drawn 3 of our 4 Lotus Petals, which is pretty gross. This is very much variance biting us, I would say here. Now, I would still make the same play on the play. It just buys us several turns. I think we can afford to take the 5 here. Gonna need to find a way to deal with this Peacekeeper. Archon of Emeria. This means if we do draw a land, it's almost certainly going to be a non-basic. Oh no, we drew a basic. So we can play the Thought Lash. Then we just need to get rid of the Anointed Peacekeeper then. We have 2 Brazen Borrowers to do that and the step throughs. I think this is worth burning the petal for. Oh no, it still costs us 2 more, doesn't it? Yeah, we're just kind of locked under a bunch of stuff here. It's pretty annoying. I'd say 90% of the time our opening hand wins this game. But like having the Force of Negation instead of the Force of Will is a little bit annoying, and having the Lotus Petals get drawn after we cast a Chalice. Cavern of Souls, this comes in tapped. And Wizard. This turn I think we have to block. Maybe we were supposed to block the turn before. Our opponent's gone to clean up. They brought in Chalices today. So now we draw a Force of Will, now we can't do anything. We can bring this guy back if we lose. We'll show our opponent how unlucky we got there. Oh, we can't play any more spells. Yeah, pretty unfortunate to just run a Lotus Petal after we put Chalice for 0. Pretty much any other card in our deck, and I think we win that game. But yeah, sometimes you get hit by variance. I think it's still right to bring in the Chalices there, and I would do it again. But we really got caught on the wrong side of things there. Right, sad one, but let's go to round 3. Yeah, we might be able to win on turn 3 here. Let's keep this. Would have liked a little bit of protection, but we'll start with this little Shelldock Isle and see what we can find. Don't mind if I do, Thassa's Oracle. So we can Paradigm Shift into Shelldock Isle, but the problem with that is if they wasteland us, yeah. Sure. Like we can still win here. We've got the step through into Paradigm Shift. I think we'll play out this Lotus Petal as well. And we'll pass. Our opponent could be playing virtually anything, really. Wastelands isn't very indicative of what our opponents... Okay, Underground Sea and Wasteland. That does narrow down what they're playing a little bit. A Thought Seize. Sure. I think we let them hit here, and then we can impulse for something if we need to. I imagine they might take the step through, since that's the thing that definitely gets us what we want. Okay, let's hit the Paradigm Shift. Understood. Right, so we have another island. We'll show our opponent that we have islands if we do this, but I don't think we're supposed to play the Narset out into a daze here. I think we can impulse end of turn. Our opponent seems to be stuck on 1 land, which means our hand is full of interaction. Let's see if we can impulse. I will take this Paradigm Shift. Any order since we're about to Wizard Cycle anyway. Narset Part of Veils. So play this on Wizard. I think we're just going to play out this Narset and try and bury our opponent a little bit. Because this is going to soak up some resources of our opponent. Sure. Means we're going to have a few turns of drawing cards with our Paradigm Shift, which isn't ideal. But I think if we can get the Narset going, our opponent's going to really struggle here. This is the best way to work through all these counter spells. Our opponent is clearly sandbagging. Daze. I will pay for that Daze. Let's have a look at some cards. Chalice of the Void, you say? I would like a Chalice of the Void, or would I like a Force of Will? Considering we want all the cards in our hand, potentially here, I'm more inclined to take the Chalice. And then we can lock our opponent out from the 1 mana spells they're going to need to get out of their mana screw. So our opponent is looking more like a Death Shadowy type deck right now. Right, we can minus this. Get a little bit deeper. Interesting. I'll take this Lotus Petal, I think. It's like the ability to have mana to work with here. I'm just trying to think if we want to step through first or not. Or Paradigm Shift first in case this gets cancelled. Countered. Alright, let's try a Chalice of the Void for 1. That sticks, does it? So we can Paradigm Shift now, or we can step through for another Thassa's Oracle. I think I'd rather step through for another Thassa's Oracle in case our opponent has some Thoughtseize and stuff. Let's do some Wizard Cycling. Let's get ourselves Thassa's Oracle. Let's try and cast a Paradigm Shift here. Alright. We pass a turn. In case we get him to Turak, we'd quite like to have more stuff to play there. So we've got 6 cards in our library. So if we draw like an Impulse, we can win that turn because we'll be able to go down to less cards. Alright, our opponent I think is Death Shadow, which is very cold to Blood Moon. So we're going to have that. And they're probably going to want to use their graveyard, so Ashiok is going to be useful here. I don't think trading 1-for-1 cards is also going to be that useful here. So I think we're going to be looking at this sort of stuff and maybe getting rid of our things at 2-for-1 us. Like this sort of stuff. Like the Malevolent Hermit is just going to be better here. Jace is quite an expensive spell to resolve against a shadow opponent. But it's nice to have this in case it gets hit. Teferi is quite expensive but shuts down all their counter spells. Now they're going to be hitting us with a lot of discards. We're probably going to want to keep our impulses in so we can dig a bit better. Maybe we can trim a Lotus Petal here. I think it's fine. I wouldn't mind having another Brazen Borrower, but I don't know where to fit it. So we're going to try this. Like, Chalice of the Void is very good against Death Shadow, and Magus of the Moon is very good against Death Shadow. Alright, so this is a turn 1 Chalice, and then what? And then we are kind of hoping to draw some better stuff here. We're very cold to Wasteland. I think I'd rather mulligan and get some islands. Yeah, okay. This is better. Similar hand, but better. I think we'll put away the Oracle for now. We can get it when we need it, and this might be better as a Magus of the Moon. Like I said, we have 2 cards that are very good against what we think our opponent is playing. Street Wraith, okay. That says Death Shadow to me. I imagine our opponent's going to daze this, but I think it's worth trying. Can't be Flusterstormed. Let's let them hurt themselves more in the terms of getting a Death Shadow into play. We cannot pay. They did not use their mana for anything. Sure. So there comes a Water Grave. They're nearly at Death Shadow mana. Magus of the Moon. This is not the time we want to see the Magus of the Moon. Require a land for it. So I don't even know if we're supposed to go and get the Oracle here. Does thin the deck for the purposes of trying to draw a land here. I think we don't use a step through just yet. A Thought Lash. Okay, it's our turn to get a bit mana screwed, I think. If we have to Brazen Borrower or something, we can do that. A Wasteland, sure. Maybe we'll step through now. Do you want this Malevolent Hermit? Kind of in for the Malevolent Hermit, actually. I guess it's just be the Oracle there, because if we can play a Thought Lash now, we can win the game. A Defense Grid. This is a must counter for our opponent, so let's try it out. If we don't counter this one, you're not countering any other spells. Unless you want to hold up 3 mana every turn. Sure. This is the cantrip, see if they can find an answer to dress down, perhaps. To Defense Grid. If we can get a Magus in play, they won't be able to cast a Murktide, and they won't be able to cast a Death Shadow. Because they tend to have 1 island and no swamps. So looking for Cavern on the Magus. Sure. Let's see what you take here. They could take Thassa's Oracle, and if they got Circuit Extraction, just rip them all out of our deck, which forces us to win with Jace. But if we can shut them down with Magus, then that'd be pretty good. They can't snuff out a Magus if that's the only removal they've got. So they might be forced to take the Magus here. I guess they have Brazen Borrower, but they have just pitched one to a Force of Will. I think that's what they pitched, wasn't it? Yeah, so they pitched a Borrower, so they're not going to be able to... Well, they're very unlikely to be able to take that one. They took our Borrower, interesting. If we can rip a Cavern, I think we're okay. What is this going to be? An Angler, sure. Paradigm Shift. Sure, let's go for it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Including a Defense Grid, which you can play before we try and go off. Alright. So our opponent's got a 4-turn clock. We have a shorter clock. But Thoughtseize is pretty bad for us. Yikes. Oh no, black and blue. This spell restricts. Engine Explosives on 2. Okay. That means we can't play the Thassa's Oracle. Okay, a Brazen Borrower. That's right. So that means we can't play the Thassa Oracle until the library is empty. So in case our opponent's got the Force of Negation, we're going to Brazen Borrower this now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if they have a land, they can cast. I guess we go to attacks. Let's try and get rid of this. Right, we have a win condition that we can use. We just need to not get Thoughtseize here. They can just replay this Gurmag Angler by exiling 2 cards in their graveyard. But we have bought ourselves 5 life doing that, which is another turn. Sure, so there's the Angler. We've got Defense Grid coming up and Chalice. A Lotus Petal. Sure, let's play this on out. Let's try this guy. Mages of the Moon. This will shut down all of their mana sources. But they do have a 3-turn clock. We have 3 cards in our library there, so that's something. Yep, we'll take our hit. So we've got Defense Grid and Chalice. There's the Defense Grid. Do I think we're blocking this turn? Probably not. Does that mean we're supposed to attack this turn? No, we're not winning with 5 damage here, are we? Let's be real. They have an explosives which can blow up the defense grid. We shut them off of their colours for another turn. We have a step through that we know doesn't find anything because the last card in our deck is Chalice. So we're in a bit of a spot here. We have to chump block with our Magus of the Moon, which isn't really the position I wanted to be in. Weird game. I don't like our position with our opponent having this many cards in hand. Thoughtseize. That's us done. Alright. That didn't go very well for us, truth be told. I think I like the setup I had here. Maybe the Borrower is just better than the Ashiok though. So we'll try it like this. Now, I like the Chalice and I like the Defense Grid. And if we're boarding those in, it makes some of our other bits worse anyway. Alright. A lot of basics. A Chalice. Step through. Let's find some cool wizards. So we can make a turn 3 Mages of the Moon if we want to, which might be good. Or we can make a turn 2 Chalice in today. So we'll see what the board looks like. And also what our hand looks like. Because we're probably getting Thoughtseize some amount of turns. A Ponder. Okay, that's fine. If we didn't get Thoughtseize, that makes me want to do the step through line. And then we can kind of win the game at our leisure, hopefully. It's going to be a little bit difficult for them to put a threat into play here. Okay, they're just doing a Brainstorm turn. Hopefully this isn't Brainstorm into Thoughtseize. That's the way we come unstuck here. But we'll see what they take. They have seen the Magus already, which is a little bit annoying to be honest. So what is this? Thoughtseize. Feeling my bones. Yep. Sure. Let's see if they take the right thing here. They need to take the step through. Otherwise they get shut out of the game under Magus. It's a shame they've seen the Magus though. Oh, they took the Teferi. That's a mistake in my opinion. But now we just get to stop them being able to play the game. There's Wizard Cycle. Maybe they didn't know that Magus is a wizard. A lot of people don't. Uncounterable Blood Moon, please. Wizard. Cast this guy. So now our opponent is in trouble. Okay, yeah. So they scooped to our sideboard tech pretty nicely there. So that's at least 2 games that our Magus of the Moon has just won for us. So this sideboard tech feels pretty legitimate. Not necessarily sure about the rest of our configuration, but Magus of the Moon is doing work. Let's go to round 4. Okay, we're on the play here. This hand feels a little on the slow side. I like the Narset and I like the ability to Force of Negation, but what are we doing? We're just playing draw go for a few turns. I think we can do better here. This is not better. This is lots of interaction, but no actual plan. Are we going to 4 cards? I don't think we can. I think we have to keep this pretty ugly hand. At least we have a catch-all counterspell here. We are pretty cold to Wasteland on our Cavern as well. But we have a counterspell that hits everything. Right, a Tundra from our opponent. At least that usually signifies a slower paced game unless they're playing Breakfast, which is the best deck that plays Tundra right now. So maybe they are, and maybe we're going to get hit by it. But we'll see. Malevolent Hermit. Alright. This is a wizard that we can play uncounterably. Now, this could just get Source to Plowshares here, which is pretty annoying, truth be told. I don't think we Force of Will this, though. This isn't the way we try and win the game. Okay, they didn't have a plow end of turn. That's good. Now, we don't actually have a blue mana to activate it yet, but we're hopefully going to get there soon. A Tundra and go from our opponent. No prismatic ending or anything. Blue sauce. I should have been more specific about the blue sauce I wanted, but here we are. Let's play Lotus Petal and go to attacks with our Malevolent Hermit. Alright. 9 turns to go. What is this? White, white. A step through. Okay, our opponent is playing something similar to us, but probably different. They are most certainly on breakfast, my guess would be. Yep, there's the Sephid Illusionist. So, we have Force of Will plus Malevolent Hermit to beat this. Urza's Saga. Sure, this finds them the rest of their combo. Cephalid Illusionist. I would like to point a counterspell at this. I think we can get rid of the Force of Negation here. A counter back, we have to use our Lotus Petal with our Malevolent Hermit. A Brainstorm. You can Brainstorm. Kind of wish we had a Magus of the Moon in the main deck now, because we'd just be able to immediately win this game. Maybe not anymore, but still. Having a big old fight over this one. Cephalid Illusionist goes. Oh, Wizard Cycle end of turn. Does mean our opponent has perfect information about our hand. Do we just get another Malevolent Hermit in the hopes of interfering with our opponent, or do we just try and get our win condition? I think we just try and get our win condition. So we've got the Malevolent Hermit. Okay, I guess we cast this. Benevolent Geist. So if we can draw a land and a Paradigm Shift before our opponent does their thing, then we'll be okay. But I don't have a lot of faith in us winning this game. We mulled pretty aggressively. Like, the first hand we had wouldn't have been good enough and we would have lost the game. So I'm glad we did mulligan. We would have certainly played for less turns because our opponent would have just bopped us on turn 3. Alright, so they're on the Urza Saga construct route. Not bad for us. A Chalice of the Void. We can play it on 1 and that's going to shut down all our opponent's cantrips. I don't hate that. This is uncounterable as well. This is going to be too big for us to fight, so we may as well get our flying damage in case that becomes relevant. We're just looking for Paradigm Shift and we're away then. If we can draw Paradigm Shift, then we can win the following turn, potentially. If our opponent doesn't have any mana up for removal. We've got a clock against us here, because these are going to be 3/3s, and then they're going to get the Shuko and make one a 4-power guy. So the clock is going to be real, for sure. And at any moment they can just play a Cephalid Illusionist and kill us, which is terrifying, which is why this deck's so good. A Narcomoeba, sure. Narcomoeba beats will begin. So take 4 down to 15. Probably hold back the Geist on blocks. I don't think we're winning this damage race. So it can at least prevent the Narcomoeba from getting in. Although if they put the Shuko on the Narcomoeba, like they're probably going to do now, it puts us in a horrible spot. Alright. Come on, deck. Really hook us up, please. Paradigm Shift. Okay. Let's do our thing. Just can't be countered, so... How many turns can we survive? If our opponent doesn't have any white mana up, then I might Thassa's Oracle when we have less blue pips. I believe this will count for 1 blue pip, because mana cost of stuff are the same as the front side, as a change they made quite a few years ago. So how much are we going to take here? 6, 7, 8. We can take 8. Not a big fan of taking 8, but we can take it. Opponent's got a lot of mana up. We've got a step through. Not a very useful card here. If we play the Thassa's Oracle and they have a path... They can't plow us, right? Because we have the Chalice of the Void in play. Just trying to think what they can have that gets us. Just think about these lists. I don't think we lose if we play the Thassa's Oracle here. I think we're more likely to lose if they make some guys. I think we're just going to go for it here. Sure, so we did get the game there because this shuts off the Swords to Plowshares and their interaction at instant speed is basically plow and counter spells, and we had both of that covered. Alright, we managed to take the first game off breakfast. I would like some Leyline of the Void, please. Makes the Moon, again, looks pretty good here. We're in a weird spot where we don't want our Null Rods and stuff here because our opponent is doing stuff that's pretty scary. Ashiok shuts down some of our opponent's things, so that's worth thinking about. Null Rod shuts down Shuko, but that's it. Brazen Borrower certainly has text.
the Force of Negations can have text, but aren't amazing. I don't actually like the Malevolent Hermit much. It looked okay, but I don't think that's where we want to be. So I think we can get rid of that. Teferi is quite expensive, but does mean we just get to win the game if it sticks. Maybe we don't want Force of Negations in because our opponent is trying to win with creatures, and that's what we're more worried about. The Ashiok's probably the weakest of these things we're bringing in. And then we're looking at other cuts. I think we need to keep our acceleration in. Maybe Jace is too slow a way of going about doing this. Same with Teferi. This is kind of where I'm looking to cut. Somewhere along the Teferi, Narset, Jace plan. I feel like I want the Jace just in case things go wrong though. If we somehow lose our Thassa's Oracle. Maybe we're looking at... Narset's so good at stopping all their cantrips though. But so does Chalice of the Void. So kind of a multitude of choices. I think we need to go fast. We can't get rid of Petals. Maybe we are getting rid of a Jace. And maybe it's a Teferi. It's so expensive in this matchup. I don't think we're going to get to... Like, I think if we get to a time we're casting Teferi in this matchup, it's too late. That Teferi is more for like the control matchups where you force them to either kill it or... Okay, this is alright. I'll keep this. And we'll put the Leyline in play to begin with. Our opponent can answer this because they will have Teferi in their deck. But we have a counter spell. We have a redundant blue card because we have Shift and... Okay, we have to let this one stick. And we've got to worry about the Cephalid Illusionist. Because they've got 8 of these enablers. But less of the Illusionists. Alright, so we've got Force of Will with Days backup at the moment. Sorry, not with Days. With ability to pay around Days. That's our plan. A Brainstorm. Okay, our opponent isn't killing us this turn. Big fan of that. I like not being dead. So we're going to take 1 damage from the Nomads. That's fine. This game is not going to come down to my life total, I don't think. They could have like Stoneforge Mystic and Cauldra. But the longer this game goes on, the less likely that is as a thing. So we're pretty close to going off here. We can step through, and then we just need... We can step through, then we can cast a Paradigm Shift, then we can cast the Thassa's Oracle. But that has to all go through a counterspell. So I think we're going to Impulse looking for a land at the end step. So our opponent is looking for Teferi as well as Cephalid Illusionist here. They might already have the Illusionist, to be fair. But they're looking for a way of answering our Leyline so they can do their combo. Now, if they get a Thassa's Oracle in hand, they don't need to worry about the Leyline because they can just exile their whole library and then play the Oracle from hand, which is usually the best way of getting around it. They only have 1 Oracle, but they do have 4 step through. Sometimes 3. Alright, let's take our 1 damage from the Nomads. Play a Magic like it's 1995. Taking hits from Nomads. Got another play from our opponent. We do still have to counter a Cephalid Illusionist here. Alright, so let's cast this. Tagging this. And I think we're getting rid of the Thought Lash. And we'll cast an Impulse. We would like this Cavern of Souls, I think. We could have taken a Shelldock Isle and tried to get lucky and hit a Thassa's Oracle. And then Paradigm Shift and try and win that way. But I don't think that's a realistic approach. So, I think we'll play out this Narset now. Let's see some cards we're looking for. Force of Will would be nice. Chalice. How nice is Chalice? Not very. We have the win next turn if we want it, but we can Chalice first. And Chalice on 2 to stop the Cephalid Illusions coming into play. But we'll see what the situation looks like. And there's a Saga. Sure. Like, we can Chalice for 1. There's a Teferi bouncing our Narset, I think. No? Yeah, Teferi is going to bounce our Narset. Or it's going to bounce our Leyline, sorry. Not our Narset. Okay, so we might just have to go off this turn or be dead. If our opponent has Force of Will, then we're just going to lose. We can't have a Force of Will to protect ourselves because of how Teferi works. Our opponent's got 3 cards in hand. Do we... Magus of the Moon is a pretty good one, though. I'm going to name Wizard here. So this is red, blue, blue. They got a removal spell here. So this will kill their Urza Saga. Feels like they're about to plow our guy, though. Okay, we have to fade another turn here. I'm not sure if we're going to do that, though. Maybe we're playing this one too cautiously and we're supposed to just step through and jam. Sure. Okay, so our opponent has it now, so we get to see their deck.
Right, so there's a Dread Return already. So I do have the Stoneforge in there, which is good to know. Are they really not doing anything this turn? Are they going to second main? They have a Teferi in play. They can just win the game here. There's nothing we can do with the Teferi in play. Unless we had a Fairy Macabre. Which we don't have, unfortunately. Let's see what they're working with. Right. They've milled over most of their library now. So you've got Flusterstorm here. There's a Force of Will there. Not many other Force of Wills in there just yet. Don't know how many they've kept in. There's another Flusterstorm. So there's 2 of those. They kept in 1 plough, 2 plough. Alright, so that's their deck. Sure. We can concede the game. Right, game 3, I think we're in a good spot there. I don't think we want the defense grids. Do we want Force of Negations just for Teferi? This is non-creature spell, isn't it? Malevolent Hermit. But if we bring these in, something's got to come out. And what's that going to be? Maybe the Brazen Borrowers aren't great enough here. Maybe I'll regret that later. We'll find out, I suppose. This also gives us things that can pressure Planeswalkers. We'll try it like this. See if we can start with a Leyline and a Chalice of the Void in play. That would be the dream. This doesn't do anything, this hand. So we need to mulligan. We need a way of winning the game or something that approaches it. This doesn't have any mana sources, so we're mulling to 5. Yeah, I guess. It certainly does stuff, doesn't it? We'll keep these. We'll get rid of Ancient Tomb and probably the other Ancient Tomb, to be honest. And say done. If this finds a Thassa's Oracle, maybe we go? It did not find a Thassa's Oracle. It did find a Cavern of Souls. I guess we put the Cavern underneath it so we can at least make our Thassa's Oracle uncounterable. We need to put a card in our graveyard now. That's the thing. If we get Thoughtseize though, we lose the Paradigm Shift and it's all over. Unfortunately, I think our hand is the best of all the hands we've seen by a significant margin. But we are very susceptible to a lot of things here. A Plains, okay. So this is just going to be the Nomads into kill you on turn 2 maybe. Chalice of the Void. I guess we're playing the Chalice. We can't play the Paradigm Shift until we have stuff in our graveyard. So this gets countered, that will help us out. If our opponent has the Cephalid Illusionist, we lose the game. Unless they have Dread Return in hand. In which case they're going to have to work a little bit harder for it because they won't be able to Cabal Therapy themselves. They just have a turn 2? They do. Alright. Let's see if the Cabal Therapy or the Thassa's Oracle is in their hand. Like, they can still win this game even if... Okay, the Dread Return is not in their hand. How many Narcomoves are in their hand as well? Okay, Cabal Therapy in the graveyard. Thassa's Oracle in the graveyard. Sure. So they just need to find 1 Narcomover. There it is. Sure. We are done now. Yeah, so that game, we just got very unlucky. We mulled to 5, and our opponent had a turn 2 kill. Sometimes it's going to happen. There's a reason why I think Cephalid Breakfast is the best combo deck in Legacy right now. I think it's just incredibly good at what it does. It can beat Graveyard Hate quite effectively as well if you just tutor for your Thassa's Oracle. It just gives you... It just means you're a 3-card combo, but you have all that wrapped up main deck with tutors already, and you can just turn 2 combo with a bunch of counter spells up, and it's really strong. So, yeah. Alright, we are 2-2, unfortunately, going into the final round. Let's see if we can get the positive record. We're on the plane for the final round. Our hand needs a little bit of help, but I like it enough. I think we'll keep. We do have to lead out on Shelldock Isle, which is kind of an open invitation for our opponent to have their way with us. But oh, our opponent's mulled to 5 cards. Maybe we're not so bad. The powerful play of turn 1 Shelldock Isle. What have you got for us, deck? Chalice of the Void, Force of Will. I like Force of Will as a way to protect our combo when we go for it, if we don't have a Cavern. So that'll do. Now, I imagine this game might not be the longest because our opponent mulled to 5. And there might just be... You're more likely to be a combo deck if you mull to 5 because you need specific pieces rather than, you know, I need lands and spells that interact with the game state. You need to have your specific stuff. So usually if someone mulls below 6, it doesn't necessarily mean they're a combo deck, but it means they're more likely to be one. Okay, we can have a Lotus Petal, and we can have an island, and then we can hold up hardcast Force of Negation, or we can impulse for our, hopefully, some sort of paradigm shift. Force of Negation, not great on our turn, unfortunately. Right, let's have a little impulse. Forest and Island makes me think our opponent's on some sort of Omni Sneak deck, Omni Show deck. What do we have here? Malevolent Hermit, Thought Lash. Let's take a Thought Lash. Any order, we're probably going to shuffle these before we get to drawing them. A paradigm shift. So we can play the Thought Lash out this turn, which is like the safe one. We can play around a daze. If this gets countered, we just paradigm shift the following turn. And then we have a Force of Will backup for our Thassa's Oracle if we can get a little bit more mana. We kind of would like another blue source before we do anything else. Maybe a couple would be ideal, but we'll see what our opponent does here. A Force of Will pitching Shardless Agent. Sure. As I said, we have the ability to go again in a minute. We can also, if we crack the Lotus Petal for the paradigm shift, we can put the Lotus Petal in for us to redraw. Alright, Rug. This could be the Rug Rhinos deck. A Show and Tell. I think we have to say no to this one. Thassa's Oracle is an interesting one here. See, actually, yeah, this is... So we crack this because we want this in our deck for the other blue source. Which means we then crack this to paradigm shift. So our opponent has a fatty in hand of some description and one other card. Which could be it could be an Atraxa and a Force of Will. But now we have Force of Will under the Shelldock Isle if we need it. So this means that we don't just die if they have another thing that they can go off with. And we might be able to Thassa's Oracle, then Thassa's Oracle again, once we draw some more cards. A Violent Outburst. Okay. What is this going to be? Rhinoceroses, one would assume. Hypergenesis. I'm going to say no to Hypergenesis. Powerful Shelldock Isling there. So our opponent has a big creature in hand. So we have 4 cards in our library right now. This takes us down to 3, and we have a Force of Negation up for their next spell. That was quite a good one of the ones we could have drawn. Next turn we can cast Thassa's Oracle with 2 cards in our library, and if that doesn't win, we can then wait until we've got no cards in our library and cast the last one. So I think we're in a good spot. There's the Thought Lash that we knew about, but let's just try and win the game this turn. Our opponent's got a big monster and nothing else, hopefully. I'll put this on top. Sure. Excellent. Alright, so our opponent looks like they're on not Rhinos, some sort of Cascade Hypergenesis deck. So I would like Force of Negations for this one. Our opponent can definitely go faster than us, so we're definitely incentivized for the Force of Negation plan. I don't know how good the Magus is going to be. They seem to have a decent amount of basic lands there. The Chalice of the Void looks very good here. We are the control here, so maybe we're just getting rid of all of these petals, and that gives us 2 more slots. Is our opponent searching their library, really? I don't think so. I think we'd probably just take in these 2 cards and roll with it like that. Again, we don't want defense grid here because we're trying to counter their thing that can probably kill us on turn 2. I don't know if we want the Ashioks. I haven't seen anything that makes me think of Ashioks, but we know our opponent's playing multiple colours, so maybe the Blood Moon, the Magus might get there. So Chalice for 0 is going to be pretty good. So we've got Chalices plus a bunch of counter spells. What does this hand have? Neither counter spells nor Chalice. Doesn't have any mana, so I think this is a pretty obvious one to throw back. Which has a lot of counter spells. I'm going to do a Reluctant Keep here. And we'll get rid of the Borrower. We get 2 draw steps to find a land to sort of get our way into this game. Now our opponent has to go relatively quickly because of the nature of their deck. Show and Tell. I would like to counterspell Show and Tell. This exiling the Impulse, I guess. Okay. So they pitched 3 cards for that. Not bad. How well can they rebuild is the question. Right, so we found an island. Excellent. Kind of wish we kept the dig spell. We'd probably Force of Will the next one, because we might be able to hard cast a Force of Negation. Depending on what we draw. Malevolent Hermit. This is a pretty good one. Let's play our guy. This might be our win condition this game, truth be told. We need to get through another turn cycle. But we can just hold up Malevolent Hermit and just slowly beat our opponent down until we draw into something good enough. Well, if we get to untap here, I think we're in the driving seat. Yeah, okay. Oh, wowzers. Wowzers, trousers, indeed. Let's just keep bashing. We've got double Force and Malevolent Hermit to stop our opponent. Now, because our opponent's playing a Cascade deck, they can't have anything like defense grid type stuff. Now, they can play a Teferi, perhaps. But we're in a good spot. All right. We're in such a good spot that our opponent's conceded and given us the 3-2 finish with Lash Gordon. Let's have a little chat about the deck. So, this deck performed pretty well today. However, I have some definite changes and problems with the deck that I would like to think about here. So, we're playing Chalice of the Void, but we only have 3 Ancient Tombs, which doesn't feel like enough. So maybe we want another Ancient Tomb for the purpose of that. But the problem with Ancient Tomb is it's good for casting Chalice. It's good for casting Thought Lash. It's pretty good for casting cycling Step Through. But it's pretty bad for everything else our deck does because we don't... Everything else is 1 and a blue or blue-blue. So it's not very... Sorry, I just hit my mic there. It's not very good versus when we're trying to do like Thassa's Oracle turns with Paradigm Shift, because that's triple blue we need, so it's not great, and I don't want to run Saprazan Scary, whatever it's called, because I don't think that's a very good card. So that's something, maybe we could play this without Ancient Tombs. Maybe we could play some 1-drops instead of Chalice. That's certainly something to think about. The Teferi never was useful. This is a thing for control matchups, and I don't think it's a main deck card for what we're looking to do. The Magus of the Moon in the sideboard, on the other hand, this little critter was an absolute all-star. He single-handedly just won me 2 games and would have just won me a game versus Cephalid Breakfast on its own if they didn't have the mana to plow it, but we did win that game anyway because they were using resources on that instead of on us. And we did also kill their Saga with it, so it was a wasteland that also got plow out of their hand. So that was pretty strong. I think Teferi and Magus of the Moon should probably be swapping here. I think Magus of the Moon main deck, if you're running Lotus Petals, makes a lot of sense to me. It seems very strong for what it does, and you can just get people out of nowhere. So, big fan of the Magus of the Moon. One of the rounds we lost was against Breakfast, where we mulled to 5, and our opponent had the turn 2 kill, which I don't even know if it had protection for it, because it had a 7-card hand to begin with, so even if we'd have had a Force, we might have lost that game anyway. That's just one of those things that happen sometimes, and I can't feel too bad about that one. Another thought I did have with playing the red cards is if you wanted to, you could also have something like Grim Lavamancer, which allows you to mess with your own graveyard, as well as taking out small creatures. So it can hit Delver even when it's transformed, it can hit Dragon's Channeler before it's transformed, it can hit pretty much every creature in Elves, can hit all the infect creatures, it can do quite a lot. So that's something I might consider. Now that's going to require quite a rejiggering of the deck and the mana base. But it might be something worth doing, and it means we can play like the good blue spells a little bit more easily. So I'll have to have a think about that one. But the deck performed pretty well. I think the rounds we lost, there was a pretty sizable amount of variance in play that caused us to lose those matchups. Now, there are some definite issues with this deck. So things like Malevolent Hermit are quite slow as cards go, and our combo isn't the fastest. Like if we get Thought Lash into play, we can sit behind it and that's great. But if we can't get it into play, we're a little bit slow. So against a deck that's aggressive and has access to counter spells, I think we're in a bit of trouble. And we did come unstuck against the initiative deck. That again, we were a little bit unfortunate that we drew double Lotus Petal after we had the Chalice down. That, you know, if we'd have drawn an island the first time, whatever, we could have just dropped a Thought Lash, and then that game's pretty much... Well, it's not over because they can still name it with the Peacekeeper, but we buy ourselves a decent amount of turn and we can kind of exile a load of our library. I think we had the Thassa's Oracle in hand as well that game, so we could have just got it in play, exiled our library and killed them the following turn. Even through a Peacekeeper on Thassa's Oracle, we would have had enough mana. So I think there's a little bit of misfortune in how this game played out. The Narset seemed quite nice. I like the fact that we can dig 8 cards with it over the course of 2 turns is quite a lot, and it does interact with what your opponent's doing. It stops them having cantrips to find answers, which is quite a powerful tool. Obviously, the Brazen Borrower
isn't something we can actually tutor for here, is it? I think I might have said that we could tutor for it at some point, but that's not true because it's a rogue rather than a wizard. So maybe there's a wizard we could tutor for, but I don't like Venser because it costs so much mana to cast. It's twice as much as Brazen Borrower. But having Brazen Borrower in the deck as a thing to find is really nice if we want to go and have a look with things like Impulse. We don't really have that much in the way of other card draw. Jace didn't really feel necessary, so I think maybe it's a bit of a crutch and we could probably get rid of it. Especially when we're running Ancient Tomb and the Caverns, the triple blue just feels bad. I think I'd rather have 4 Caverns and an Oracle plan than have the Jace. Force of Negation is an interesting one. It very much states that we are not necessarily that fast and we need interaction on our opponent's turns to get us there. That's what Force of Negation says. I don't really like this Malevolent Hermit, to be honest. I think that could be better as other stuff. Like, it was okay and did some stuff this league, but ways of digging would have been better. Ways of impacting the board perhaps would have been nice. I definitely think we can improve this deck. And I'm definitely going to have a look at trying to incorporate more wizards into this deck and sort of having like a stronger tutor box. I think there's a lot of things we could do to help that. Whether or not I want to play Grim Lavamancer, I'm not sure though, because Grim Lavamancer makes you want to play fetches, it makes you want to play non-basics. Because we can't really play Basic Mountain in our deck that's trying to cast 1 blue in a single turn sometimes with Paradigm Shift and Thassa's Oracle. So I don't think that's a realistic option for us. But maybe there's some other little tech we can do. I'm going to have to do a deep gatherer dive and see if I can find something that can maybe mess with our graveyard or just other things that are useful. Like, there's definitely things like Spell Stutter Sprite that is, you know, pretty reasonable as a Magic the Gathering card. Whether or not it's worth tutoring for, I don't really think so. But there's probably some other stuff like Glenelender Archmage is a bit expensive as well. But it does a very similar thing to Malevolent Hermit, so it's probably just not as good as that. I'm definitely going to have a look on Gather and see what I can find. I'm sorry if I said at some point in this league that you could tutor for Brazen Borrower. I don't know what came over me. All right, so I also like the Leylines. The Leylines are very good here. Now, we did lose a game. We had Leyline in play because they bounced it, but that's going to happen. The Ashiok, I'm not entirely convinced on here. I think I would rather have like Dismembers or something that impacts the board than the Ashiok, which is something to think about. Like, the Ashiok makes more sense in combination with Jace because you're probably going to be milling your opponent because you don't want to mill yourself because that makes your Paradigm Shift worse. Also, this doesn't exile your own graveyard. This exiles each opponent's graveyard, and sometimes exiling your graveyard would be better a lot of the time. So maybe we can find something that hits our opponent's graveyard and ours, something like Relic of Progenitus. If we're not running Chalice, becomes a better option. And also that helps us just keep our graveyard down. So maybe that's a route we can go. Maybe we can run some Delve spells. If we're going more into the playing some blue stuff, we could even go as far as playing Murktide in a deck like this as like an alternate threat that kind of forces your opponent to do something. And it also handles your graveyard if we're playing like Brainstorm Ponder type deck instead of Chalice. I do like the Chalice gets rid of Plow, so you can Thassa's Oracle when you still have cards in your deck under a Paradigm Shift. So the Chalice does interact kind of nicely with Paradigm Shift in terms of making it so your guy can come down slightly earlier. And also you have less cards in your graveyard because you've got the Chalice of the Void rather than all these cantrips. So there's definitely some ways of taking this deck, and I think the proper, like, optimized version of this deck is going to take a long time to find, in my opinion. All right, I think we're done for today. I hope you enjoyed this one. Something a bit different, and I think I really showcased the power of tutoring from Magus of the Moon, which is something I think I theory crafted with last time I played this deck as an idea of why aren't we doing that? So I chucked it in today, and it was one of the best things our deck did. So definitely look out for this. Okay, thank you very much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, become a member of the channel, etc., etc., and goodbye.